Welcome to What She Said. I'm your host, Lucy Lucraft, a freelance journalist and blogger from London. Each week I chat to awesome humans about their journey to where they are today, and we share lots of blogging tips and tricks too. You can hear the entire back catalogue as well as new episodes wherever you listen to podcasts by searching for my name or searching What She Said, or you can go to my website, wanderloose.com. And if you want to come say hi online, I'm at Lucy Lucraft on Instagram or Twitter, or over at my blog, wanderloose.com. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of What She Said. This week I chat to returning guest Jessica Rose Williams all about minimalism and how her blog's doing 1 year on. So last time we chatted, it was just months after she'd started her blog, which is crazy. So we talk about everything that's happened in the past year and what she's learned. Jessica's super transparent and keen to share all of her knowledge and stumbling blocks along the way, from Instagrammer to newbie blogger, where she is today with her awesome capsule wardrobe masterclasses and ebooks. If you need a gentle reminder that you don't have to pretend that you're smashing it to be successful, this one's for you. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming back. So for anybody that doesn't know who you are, do you want to just briefly introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your blogging journey so far?
Yep. So, hi, I am Jessica. I blog at jessicarosewilliams.com and I write a minimal lifestyle and travel blog. I'm coming up to my 1 year anniversary now of being a blogger since I launched it, and I write about how to live with less, how to simplify life, get rid of all the stuff, all the crap, and document all my travels and share travel tips as well.
And for anybody that wants to get to know Jessica a little bit better, you can go back to the first series. I can't for the life of me remember which episode it is. I should have really checked that beforehand, but I will link it in the show notes because we chatted in detail, and you'd only so you were 6 months in, weren't you?
Yes.
When we first chatted.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you'd already grown phenomenally in that 6 months. And we chatted quite a lot about Instagram, about your initial journey into blogging, and I think we talked about Pinterest and some of the tips and tricks you had for growing your traffic. And you were super honest and really generous with your knowledge. But things have changed quite a lot since then. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, so, I mean, people are still reading it, which still surprises me.
Does it? I think it's one of my favourite blogs.
Thank you. It's still getting read and people are still commenting and people still want to hear what I've got to say. So it has grown steadily though, which is a nice thing. Definitely decided that I don't want to be, sort of blogging powerhouse with millions of people. I've, really tried to keep it more real and small and meaningful, the words I normally use. But yeah, it's continued to grow. It's great. It's great building a real little community around it now, which is lovely.
So when you, I don't want to talk like numbers and stuff like that because that's,
Oh, that's fine. I don't mind talking about it. I think people need to talk more numbers. Do you agree?
I do.
Or maybe not.
No, I do agree with you.
Because I always want to know.
Well, we talk about this a lot offline anyway. Because I think both of us are really happy to share our numbers and be transparent. The reason I sort of say I don't want to go into talking about numbers is that I think sometimes I was about to ask you a question which was a bit traffic focused, and I think so. In my SEO course, there's a section. The section that I've had the best feedback about is when I really tough love it and ask my students, why do you want the traffic you want? Why do you want that traffic? Why do you want that number? So when I said, I don't want to talk about numbers too much, it was more from a point of view of that, people sometimes have a goal, don't they? Of, I just want to, and actually it's not really a goal. It's just a number. It's number wang. It's just pointless. It's arbitrary.
It's like a vanity metric, isn't it?
100%. It's just there to serve your ego and nothing else.
Yes, ego.
Totally. But nobody really stops and thinks about it. So I found it interesting when you said, my numbers are growing steadily and I don't want to be a superstar blogger with millions of followers. I want to be a smaller blogger. Mm-hmm. When did you come to that realization? And also the kind of second vein of that is, when you talk about your numbers growing steadily, last time your traffic was coming mostly through Pinterest, have you found that that's still the case, or are you shifting and tilting that more into organic search?
Oh, that's interesting. Because it was very much Pinterest 6 months ago. It still is, to be honest with you. It's still the biggest traffic driver, but I'm still putting in quite a lot of effort with it, and I've done that from day one. I figure that people who read my blog are very similar to me, and then that means that they're very visual people. So I tend to focus on Instagram and Pinterest to try and catch people's eye and put out there what I think they want to hear, or what I can offer them to get them over to the blog. But I think for the first it's interesting that we're talking at this time, actually, because for the first 6 months, I think I sort of threw myself off the, okay, I'm going to start a blog cliff. And then it was all, okay, I need numbers. Yeah. It was very similar to when I started taking Instagram seriously. Everybody wants that first 10K, don't they? Yeah. That's all everybody wants. Yeah. And then I had it with the blog where I sort of started getting about 10,000 people reading it every month. And I thought, oh, this is great. Similar to when I got 10K on Instagram. And then you realise, like, oh, there's nothing magic happens now. Yeah. Right. Oh, I thought I'd have these big brands knocking on the door maybe, or I don't know, people offering me stuff, or I'd feel differently. But you really don't. Nothing happens. No. And then it's a case of, I guess it's similar to the approach that I take to, buying stuff and life in general with minimalism. Where does it end? What are you chasing? Is it going to make you happy? So yeah, constantly along the journey, I've tried to look at the numbers and think, these are great, but don't take it. You can't put your self-worth into it. And I think a lot of people do. And it's so easy to see why they do. Yeah. I don't think we can beat ourselves up for that either, because if you're wanting to do brand work, which I quite like to do a little bit of it, but I definitely wouldn't want to do too much of it. It's really hard work. They are going for people with high numbers.
Yeah, at the moment they definitely are. I think that is going to shift, but I don't think there's ever going to be a day. Oh, I definitely do.
And you keep hearing that it's going to shift, but they are going for people with really high numbers. Hopefully it will shift, but yeah. So that's soon, why why people are going for it, because those numbers are rewarded. But it is just a number. Yeah, it really is. You only need a very small number of people who get you and who you can help to then have a very, a positive impact. And I think that's what we're all really wanting to do. I think that's why we're putting ourselves out there online.
I think so too. It's like craving connection, isn't it? And wanting.
I think so, definitely.
So I think you're particularly interesting and a really, really, really good example of someone who, funnily enough, the other Jess who was on the podcast, Jess Dante, a couple of episodes ago from Love and London.
Yeah, I listened to that one. Loved it.
Did you? Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely loved it.
You're quite similar in the fact you're incredibly different aesthetic, blog-wise, everything else. But the thing that you're really similar about is that your niche is tight and you know your audience inside out. You know exactly who you're writing for. You know what they want. Like you even said, your people are going to find you through Pinterest and Instagram. And that means that the people that come to your website are engaged already. They're your right people.
Yeah, that's how
which is kind of the secret, isn't it? I mean, I think if you can nail that down, and I don't like to talk about niche too much because it gets people a bit cross, and it used to get me really cross, but actually it's not really about niche in the traditional sense of the word, or it was certainly in the traditional sense of how people taught it in blogging, but you just got to find your tribe. Always. Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, you've always known from day one. That's why I think your blog, one of the reasons why your blog has grown really quickly is because when you went into it, you knew already. You didn't start and like mess about too much. Would you say?
No, I didn't. Do you know what I realised today, actually? I registered a domain name a year before I actually started my blog, but never did anything with it. So I think for me, it was a case of I wasn't doing it until I was, I felt like I was 100% ready. I still wasn't 100% ready, but I'm not someone, I'm a really careful person. I'm too overcautious, to be honest with you. I need to just let the hell go a little bit. I think there's a lot of fear in there. So yeah, I didn't want to start it until I had a better idea of what it would look like. But looking back, even at day one, I don't know, I wrote a couple of blog posts, but they weren't specific like they are now. I just knew I wanted to do something to do with lifestyle, and I wanted to share myself and try and connect with like-minded people and, put myself out there a little bit more, create some nice content if I could, and just see where it went. And then I think I really spent quite a lot of time, I won't say reflecting, but that sounds like a really strong word, but just looking at who was reading it, who was commenting, how I felt about, them, whether they were people that I did connect with or maybe they were my wrong people. And when it's your wrong people, they say things where you just think, no, I don't think I'm for you. In which case, don't then think, oh, I need to write things to please them. Focus on, you just sort of let that go. I think is it Sarah Tasker calls it panning for gold.
Oh, I love that.
Which I love. I hang on to that, and I just think, okay, it's not a personal thing. Just let them go. Focus on the right people, and then focus on building relationships with them, because I really think that that's the way to grow your audience, is to focus on the audience that you've already got and really engage with them.
That's interesting. So focusing on the audience you've got and connecting with them. So how do you do that?
I think so. Well, conversations with them. I think so often, going back to the numbers, so often we're chasing new followers, chasing new likes, but there's a lot to be said for the ones that are already there. So I try to spend quite a lot of time on other people's accounts. Yeah. People who are interested in what I've got to say, and usually I'm interested in what, their lives and their questions, things like that. So focusing on that. And then you'll find that people who follow them see you on there, and it ripples out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do agree. And I think we're probably similar in that both of our tribes are quite easily identifiable as our Instagram followers, our most engaged Instagram followers. I know that my people are all on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which
is such a happy place.
I love it so much. Even I genuinely don't care about my numbers anymore. I love it when I get to an even number.
I love even numbers.
But aside from that, I don't care. It's meaningless to me because this is an interesting thing to share, and we can both get a bit honest with numbers if we both feel like it. So I have 2,800 followers on Instagram. I mean, that's no big secret. You can see it. But all of my brand work in the past 6 months, paid and unpaid, has come from Instagram. And that is I have less Instagram followers than I have monthly views. But all of my brand work has come from that. That's
really interesting.
I think it's really interesting as well. And I don't think people would necessarily... And this hasn't been me pitching people. Anyone that's come to me comes to me through Instagram. They find me through Instagram. Yeah,
I think I've definitely got the same with brands.
Yes.
But I think with traffic, it's from Pinterest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which makes sense.
Which is interesting because that's where I've got the least amount of followers.
Oh, you don't need followers though, do you, on Pinterest?
No,
because it's like a search engine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is another reason why Pinterest is awesome, because you really don't have to worry about your followers. I think
they should take it off, shouldn't they?
I think they should, because it is meaningless. I don't. The pins that I find aren't through my followers.
Never.
There's not really an algorithm boost for people that you follow. It's really stupid.
No, it is.
Because I have 6,000 followers on Pinterest, and I get 160,000 monthly views of my Pinterest page. Is that what it's called? Page? I don't know.
Yes. Profile, isn't it?
Profile. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And both of those numbers are essentially meaningless. Because that doesn't indicate the amount of traffic that I then get to my site. It's just too completely... It's kind of one of the reasons why I really wanted to... I feel like I'm really preoccupied with this at the moment, which is probably really annoying to people. Whenever I hear people asking for advice about how do you grow your Instagram, how do you get to this number? I mean, they're certainly not asking me how to do that. But when, I'm in a forum where someone's asking it, I'm constantly doing that really annoying kid thing of, but why? But why? Because I really want people to question it in themselves. Like, why do you want that? Why do you want that? And then I found that for myself, when I was constantly asked why, I realised, oh yeah, I don't need that. I don't need that amount of followers that I had in my head, because I'm making enough money from what I'm doing right now with the followers I have.
Yeah, exactly. And it's what more do you actually want? But that's the real thing, isn't it? The why thing. I listened to a podcast. I think it was a Jenna Kutcher one. Not long ago.
That you cheated on me.
I did. Sorry. I do listen to other podcasts.
Other podcasts are available, guys. Is it Gold Digger?
Oh, but it was, that's the one. And I think it was the lady from Cottage Hill. I think it's a magazine, and she talks about the why you're doing something and how that basically underpins absolutely everything that you do. It's really, really interesting. I think you're supposed to ask yourself why like 5 times to get the real answer.
How interesting. But I think that's so true, because
I agree.
The people that I admire kind of within my industry, other bloggers or whatever that I follow, who I can see have really got it nailed down, you can see that they know their why, because they're writing with an authentic voice, and they're writing about stuff that you tell they care about. They're the same across all of their platforms. There's no cringe whenever you see a caption. I don't know. And I think you're one of those people.
Oh, well, I think it is a thing. I do think you have to be you, and I think you have to let people in as well a little bit. I don't think there's any point. I mean, when I started with this, the idea of sharing, certain things just sort of terrified me. I mean, before blogging, my Instagram captions would be an emoji, trying to be cool and wanted everyone to think I was cool. Cryptic. And now, my God, you can't shut me up on there. I talk about all sorts. But now I get over 100 comments, So you have to let people in order for them to be able to connect with you. Yeah. There's no point trying to be cool, trying to be somebody that you're not, because people won't connect with that. So then you're digging yourself further into that hole. I do think you have to show a little bit of vulnerability, definitely.
I think there's a real magic in vulnerability. There's a kind of sweet spot where it's kind of, you have to step over a bit of uncomfortability. You have to kind of push past a bit of a comfort blanket with vulnerability, but you should never feel frightened or violated or anything like that. And if you get to that point, then it's kind of the sweet spot where everybody else feels like they have permission to also be vulnerable and honest.
Yeah, definitely. Have you read the Brene Brown books?
Yes, Daring Greatly.
Absolutely amazing.
That's the only one that I've read so far.
Life-changing books.
Oh my God, totally.
Life-changing. And she talks about the line, because obviously there is a case of you don't want to share absolutely everything. I mean, my God, you don't want to know everything that's going on inside my head. I don't want to know everything that's going on inside my head. But there's a line, isn't there, where you feel, I think she talks about it in a way where people have to earn it.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really powerful. But people love to connect with people, don't they?
Yeah.
I know I've thought, people online they've grown and then they've turned into very plasticky, unrealistic, and I've unfollowed them. I don't feel like I can connect with them anymore.
Yeah. I've had something similar recently.
Feel like that?
Sorry, say that again?
I wouldn't want people to feel like that about me because I want to connect with people. That feels vulnerable to say that, actually.
Yeah.
I want to connect.
I think that is vulnerable when you admit that the reason that you invest time in Instagram is because you want to make friends.
Yeah.
Which
definitely.
It does
it
feel
is
a
for
bit...
an introvert as well, someone like me who can happily stay at home and not see people stays on edge.
I wanted to talk a little bit about what you've been up to from a kind of work point of view, because when we first chatted, you were just at the start of your blogging journey. You were obviously, working with brands and stuff on Instagram and with your blog, and then you started coaching. And I think when we chatted, you weren't necessarily sure of which way you were going to go, but that was something that happened. I can't remember when it was, at some point last year. So I wanted to talk a bit about, and now obviously you've got loads of other stuff going on. You've just done an amazing workshop, and you've got an e-course, which I've bought. All of these will be in the show notes, by the way. What's been going on?
I don't know. When you start a blog or you are a blogger, you have something online, I think there's this pressure, isn't it, that you've got to do something with it, and there's a set path maybe that you should follow. I don't know if I got a little bit swept into that in the beginning because I read quite a lot of advice.
I think we all do.
Yeah, I think we do. It's easier, isn't it, to look at what other people are doing instead of looking inside yourself and thinking about what you want to do.
Yeah, totally.
So I think, I thought I'd give one-to-one coaching a go and put it up. Felt really not great about it. Mm-hmm. Did a little bit. It was fine. That's your answer, isn't it? But I didn't really find myself promoting it. I didn't want to be on one-to-one calls all day.
Yeah.
And it took giving it a go for me to realise that that's not actually what I want to do. I think I'd rather do a one-to-many sort of thing. Like, I love, obviously you do, I love Instagram. That's a very one-to-many thing, isn't it? You put something out there and then you can engage with loads of people at once.
Yeah. Which
really surprised me again, because being an introvert, I'm much better on a one-to-one, but turns out that's actually not the case with blogging and online. So it's been a case of, oh my God, what should I do? Well, I could do this, and this, get loads of ideas together. But then it's a case of trying one at a time, because I think it's just as important to know what you don't want to do as it is to know what you do want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
And I still don't 100% know. I'm just sort of experimenting, trying things out based on what I think might work. And then if I like it, great. The workshop, I was convinced I wouldn't be able to do it, for one, confidence-wise, and I was convinced no one would turn up, and I was convinced that it would just be a flat failure and everyone would want their money back. And it was incredible, and I absolutely loved it. So now I'll definitely want to do another one. But hey, if it hadn't gone so well, I'd have learnt something from it, and I just wouldn't have done another one in future.
Yeah.
So I think that approach has really helped me move forwards instead of just sitting with loads of paper and lists around me trying to figure out what the hell I should do.
Yeah. I think experimenting is so key in this weird online world where none of us know what we're doing really, and there is, you're right, there is so much noise out there, and you don't have to follow the rules. You don't have to. There's some things that it helps if you follow them, I'm going to plug my SEO course here. Those rules, it's really helpful to follow.
Things like that. Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting what you just said about we all don't know what we're doing, and that's something I've learned in my first year of blogging. Even the people right at the top that you think have got it all together and they're running this amazing business and earning $1 million a year or whatever, they have no idea what they're doing. Totally. They are winging it day in, day out. I know, because I've, reached out to certain people and chatted to them. They have no idea what they're doing. So hopefully that will make people listening to this feel better, because it really made me feel better.
Yeah.
We're all amateurs. No one has a clue.
Yeah, totally. But it was interesting at the beginning when we were talking about numbers, and you said, I think people should be more transparent, and asked me if I do too. I definitely do. But people aren't.
They're not. I don't know what it is. Do you know, I was thinking, because I've got a media kit now, which makes me feel really professional. Media kit. And it's not on my website, and I really think I'm going to put it up there, because it's got prices on, mainly for brands and things like that. Yeah, I think I'm just going to put it up there. So then if anyone wants to see what I charge for, Instagram posts or writing blog posts or anything else they want me to do, it's there. And likewise, other bloggers can see it as well. Had a conversation with someone not long ago, and there was a group of us, and we all told each other what our numbers were, what we were charging for things, and they were so different.
Kate said the same thing. Kate Ferris.
Yeah. Kate was one of the people.
Interesting.
So I mean, that's not helping anyone, is it?
No, not at all.
Because some people aren't charging enough, and then some people are maybe going in too high and then losing the work.
Yeah.
But it's such a new industry. I really think we need to, again, vulnerability, open up a little bit and share this information. If somebody wanted to know what you were charging, it's easy to find out. You could just get someone to pretend to be a brand and
I heard of someone. I can't remember who I was.
I don't know.
No, not at all, because someone told me. I can't remember who it was. I don't even know if it was on a podcast episode or if it was just an offline chat, and someone said they had a friend or knew someone kind of blogging, like a colleague, who used to pretend to be a brand and email lots of bloggers to get their media kits.
Wow.
To find out. Which I thought, I mean, isn't it sad that we have to resort to that?
Because it is, but it's so unregulated. I guess it's a case of what else have we got, but I really think it's time to start opening up.
I do too.
Because I don't know about brands as well, I think they're taking the pee quite a lot of the time with people, and I think
they are, we've
most got ourselves to blame for it.
Well,
because we're not standing together and saying, no, that's actually not okay for you to expect me to do that for free when it takes hours and hours to do. I
mean, I don't know if and I don't want to shame anybody who's listening, but I got an email you probably got the same one, from Papier, who wanted to, and actually I don't even care if they listen. I'm going to call them out. I really loved that brand, and had been, Anais was bought one of those really cool personalised Papier kind of books for her christening. It was so beautiful. And when they contacted and when they contacted me, I was like, oh, that's so great, through Instagram. Oh, great. And actually, this is totally on brand because I like your product anyway. They sent me a huge proposal of, it was almost like it was a big presentation. We want, and when I was reading it, I was like, that's great, you're so organised. We want however many blog posts, loads of Instagram posts, we want this, we want that, and we'll give you £25 to spend on stationery. I was like, oh my god, it's
exploitation, isn't it?
Is this an actual joke? So I just went back and said, and just sort of ignored what they put, and said, I'd love to work with you, what's your budget? And they never got back to me. But then I've seen lots of my friends doing it, and maybe it's just me who they didn't have a budget for, but the fact that I'm thinking that makes me think, well, perhaps everybody else thought, well, no one else is going to be charging, so I won't ask. And I do think it's really shitty of them.
No, I agree. It's really interesting when you start to unpick it, isn't it? What's actually going on? And I don't think many people are talking about it, and it's definitely not regulated at the minute.
No.
But we're in a position where, you know, most bloggers are women, so it's female entrepreneurs trying to get a business going, trying to make a go of creative living, and obviously you have to make money out of that to be able to sustain yourself. I mean, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But we have to start somewhere. So I guess, you know, doing things for free is kind of a bit of an internship, I guess, maybe, to get yourself going. But at the same time, pay the photographer, you know. People are, it's so much work, so much effort, and how much would it cost them to pay someone to come up with the concept, to spend the time promoting it on social media, to take the photo, to edit the photo, to come up with the caption that's actually authentic, you know? And
I do think,
to expect you to do that for 25 is it's wrong.
And it was a voucher, basically. It wasn't even 25. I think it was even like $25 or something ridiculous. Yeah. But I have to say, you know, there are times when I don't even like to say I work for free, because if I really wanted £25 worth of papier vouchers, and I could have gone back and negotiated and said, look, I will take this, I really need that, but I'm only going to do one Instagram post or whatever. That's fine. I 100% do not judge anybody for whatever they do, because to me, the value, that's like you set your own lines, you set your own kind of boundaries. And I definitely don't charge for everything. It's different. It's a case by case thing. But
it is definitely. That's the interesting thing. You know, again, when we start to unpick it, I do it too. I'll do stuff for free. It's not for free, but if there's mutual benefit,
exactly,
you know, if it's a load of, if it's I don't know, stuff. I don't really have much stuff, but you know, I don't know, if I was redoing a office or something and wanted to do a lovely desk, but then at the same time I could write about how to put a minimalist office together and how this will benefit your life, then the company that would give me the desk, they would benefit from that.
Okay, so we're back. We got cut off.
There's no getting rid of me.
We were talking about brand work, but actually what I think is more interesting is the stuff that you're doing with your business. So you moved on from one-to-one coaching and created a beautiful workshop around capsule wardrobe planning and an e-course too. Where did that idea spring from? So
the workshop came from someone asking me if I wanted to do it. I had a message and said, really love a capsule wardrobe workshop. Is it something that you'd be interested in doing? And my initial reaction was, oh my God, there's no way I can do something like that. No, are you kidding? No one will come. It won't work. You know, the inner critic was, you know, got a megaphone going on. But I was in this. I did a coaching session with Jen Carrington, who I know you've had on the podcast and who I absolutely adore. She is amazing. She is. I'm sure you think the same.
Yeah.
And we sort of agreed that because I was in a sort of quite new, well, obviously my blog was quite new, that I should just do a season of experimentation. And I thought, oh yeah, that's a great idea. So I'll just be open to things and see what happens. So I said, yeah. So I was okay, lean into the fear. Yes, I'll do it. And so we put it together, and it, put it on. It didn't sell out, which was actually a blessing in disguise in the end. That was quite interesting because I think there's so much of this online, isn't it? Sold out in an hour. Sold out. It's pressure. I don't mind saying my workshop, it didn't sell out, and that was fine. I thought about why it might not have done, and then I'll, learn from that for next time.
Yeah.
So put that on. It went so well. I I've asked for it to go any better. We basically got together in this really gorgeous old gramophone factory, which is about 25 minutes from my house now, about 5 minutes from the one that we're moving to. And I took people through the building a capsule wardrobe journey. So I put a workbook together for us to use on the day, and went through bits and bobs of that, and then did loads of other exercises, tried to make it really creative for everyone. We had lovely food and loads of tea and coffee, things like that. We just had a really lovely day connecting together. And then I had loads of questions about, well, I can't make the workshop because depending on where your audience are, it turns out I don't have a very local audience to me. That was part of the problem. And I live obviously in the north of England, which isn't that easy to get to. It's effort to get to, isn't it? So people were saying, I would have loved to have come, but I can't get there. Would you maybe do a course, or would you maybe sell the book that you used on the day? I'd really love to use that. So I guess I got my idea from my audience, which is really nice.
That's a super organic way of...
Really? Yeah. Really, really nice way to do it. So then I thought, well, I didn't know which one to do first again. So I thought, I polled the audience on Instagram, which is a really good way to test things, to find things out. And more people wanted the ebook than the e-course, but there wasn't too much in it. So I thought, okay, well, I'll do both, but it's going to take me longer to write the in-depth e-course with, community, Facebook group, and probably some one-to-one with me. But it was easy enough to just put the book that we used up for sale, and then people can work through that at their own pace. And I'm always around anyway on Instagram, Twitter and stuff. You can't shut me up. So answer the questions with that. So yeah, it was all born out of that leaning into some fear, which is really interesting.
Are you going to do more workshops?
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think I found it really tiring. It was a lot of effort, but I think now I know how it would run. I think it would be easier to do another one. So it's not something I would do, monthly or anything like that, but definitely a couple of times a year I can see myself running them. It felt more retreat-like.
Again, we've been cut off, but we're back. I remember us chatting about some of the stumbling blocks when you'd first started your blog, but has there been any new ones since, or has it been the same, or what have you been navigating?
Stumbling blocks. I think comparison is always the big one. So comparison is something that I've definitely stopped doing as much. I don't actually spend much time on blogs that are within my niche, so I don't read too many minimalist blogs as such. I like to get outside of what I do. So I think it's so easy to get bogged down, and then you kind of can't see the wood for the trees.
That's interesting, because a lot of the advice that we are given is to be looking at what everyone else is doing to see what we can do better. But I have found that to be quite, for me, and we seem to have a few similar traits. I find that to be quite triggering. Actually, I'm sorry to say it, but I really hate using that word, triggering. But not to diminish it, but I just don't like using it. But it's just one of those things that I find is quite, it doesn't work for me.
Stuck. I get really, really stuck. I don't do things any better, and then my head is just full of other people's ideas.
Yes.
By all means, look at what other people are doing, but look at what other really good food bloggers are doing, or look at what, I don't know, just like the opposite end, you know? I mean, when you want to be a better writer, the first tip someone will give you is read well.
Yeah.
Don't read how you want to write. Read, Dickens, Virginia Woolf. Read amazing classic stuff that's not what you're wanting to write, but you'll naturally consume, because we create what we consume, don't we?
Yeah.
So that's really the best way to propel you on, not to just look at what other people are doing in your genre. I just think that's bad. idea. I don't see how you'd think. I mean, yeah, maybe you could think, oh, how could I do it differently? But I think you're going to get pretty stuck if you take that approach.
I think it really depends on the type of personality you are, because some people do find that a motivating thing.
Oh, from like a competitiveness type thing.
Yeah, like in a healthy way. In a healthy way.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't. I really struggle with that.
I struggle with it. Yeah, definitely. It's something that I've tried my best to sort of stay away from doing. And I think the way to do it is to intentionally distract yourself. So, find anything but to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, I want to see what other people are doing. So don't go on blogs that are similar to yours. Get out of your bubble. Go and find some new blogs. Go and find some old blogs that did really well, or I don't know, read a Dickens novel or something. You'll learn so much more from that about writing than you will about someone that's doing what maybe you want to do.
I completely agree, and I think the same probably goes for social media as well, to be honest. So we're being plagued by terrible Skype issues. So where can everybody find you online?
So the best place to find me is on my blog, jessicarosewilliams.com, or Instagram after that, at jessicarosewilliams. And then quite active on Twitter as well, but I'm at jessicaroswill on there. And then Pinterest, which is at jessicarosewilliams as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to What She Said. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, please think about leaving me a 5-star rating and a review if you have time. This really helps other people find the podcast and means that Apple don't hide me in their vaults. If you fancy joining my small but perfectly formed bunch of podcast fans for chit chat on Facebook, head to facebook.com/groups/What She Said podcast and come and join us.